morning, everybody. Last night, the family and I watched this movie called Enchanted. Again, being kind of quiet because they're still sleeping. This is the only chance I get to really do this in the morning. And it's a Disney movie. And it's about this cartoon princess that gets shoved into reality. And I recommend, well, maybe I don't recommend watching it, but it's very interesting. There's the innocence of the myth of love that's introduced to the factor, but the characters are actually embodied. And the happily ever after, these giant mythic concepts, they get crushed by reality. And I was there to a point because the spirit of the element of the binding element of Adam and Eve was there. It was very interesting. The problem was the male character, he kept switching allegiances and switching his duty and his faithfulness. He said yes to one, like he wanted to marry her, but then, just kidding, follow the heart. But he was a divorce lawyer, and everybody was fine with the swapping of partners. Now, it wasn't anything like crude. It was a Disney movie, but it was just like the loyalty factor was just gone. Like, if he did that to a person who said she was a princess, maybe he'd do that to somebody else later on. Like, there's something about honor when you tell someone till death do us part, or say, I would like to do this with you, or have intent to, and then in a matter of a couple days switching it. So there was that fairy tale element. What I wanted to do is unpack a little bit more of Knives versus Vash that I was talking about yesterday in Trigun. I know perhaps many of you have not seen that anime, but it's probably one of the best ones ever written, in my opinion. It's the character of Vash and Knives specifically. There's a point in their childhood, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's from yesterday's episode. It's an older anime, 1999. I guess that'd be considered older when it came out. About Vash. Vash and Knives are twin brothers, and they're on this western planet, and they can see outside of time. So they pretend you can take, if someone does something, you can take as much time as you need to figure out what to do. It's that kind of concept. They live in time and outside of time. It's like an interesting concept of it. I've seen the anime 2 or 3 times, start to finish, and I showed it in front of my kids because it was pretty neat. There's guns and stuff, but the amount of violence gore is very minimal. But there's a scene in the childhood which basically defines the separation of the characters. It's a scene where Vash and Knives are in this like holodeck thing like Star Trek, and they're on the grass hill, and there's a spider, and there's a butterfly, and the spider's about to catch the butterfly. And right at the last minute, Knives reaches out and crushes the spider. And Vash tackles him. He is enraged. How could you willfully kill a creature? So it's like the ultimate pacifism versus the ultimate absolutism. Because Vash is both could have lived. We could have figured out a way. And then Knives said, no, this is the only way. We must kill the spider to save the butterfly. The spider would have died anyway for lack of food. And that's the logical conclusion if you take out the essence of life. One of the biggest reasons those characters are totally split, I believe, is what they subject themselves to in the hierarchy of belief. And why is this important? Well, all mythic stories undergird what we do. You can't get what you do from facts. An ought can't go to an is. This is a big David Hume thing. I've said this before, but it's worth repeating. Everything you do comes from a story, one way or another. That's where it comes from. That's why the biblical stories that united us, I would say mostly when the country was founded, were extremely important, but they're still important now because they still unite us. You still think certain ways where you get concepts of good and evil still come from the Judeo-Christian worldview. But I think the reason why Vash is held to such a high esteem is because he subjects himself to the higher good. Knives tells himself, I know exactly what to do. I know that life is meaningless, and I know that the ends justify the means. I know this. So he is his own ruler. Vash subjects himself to life, which is a higher authority than him. And you can see this in the reason why I think this is important. You can see it directly in the Bible. You can see Satan, who's an absolutist, when he's embodying like the serpent in the Garden of Eden, saying, "Yeah, you won't die. You'll know what's good and evil." And a person who is not subject to any other law beside himself can easily lie, can easily twist the truth. Meanwhile, Christ subjects himself to the Father, and he loves us to the point where he will do anything, including carrying his cross and becoming crucified. But there's life after that. There's life in that, and there's life after it as well, because his spirit lives on. Even now, 2,000 years later, what he did then, regardless of what you think of him, is still imprinted in mankind and gives dignity to life, even in the law, even beyond the law, I would say. There's something about that, like, you got to take that seriously. It really is kind of a neat thing. Besides that, I'm reading Gandhi's autobiography, and I got to a point where he took, like, he's trying to make the life of Indians in South Africa better, because everyone's extremely racist down there. It's very much English controlled, and he's working on this case, and it was like revolutionary to him. Like, if you focus on the truth, the law will take care of you. Like, that's so cool. If you focus on what's actually real, like the like, you can transpose it. The law of morality will take care of itself. Like, things will right themselves in the long run. The long run might take multiple generations, and the law will eventually fix itself, because improper law will destroy a country, but a proper law that's good and real and true will sustain, because it keeps everyone on like an equal footing. Something like that. So Gandhi's at this point in his life, I think he's in his 20s maybe, something like that. I'm like a fourth of the way through it from whenever he wrote it. He's subjecting himself to the higher good, which is truth and the law at the moment, because he started out as a lawyer. So anyway, today's going to be an interesting day. I get to figure out the future of potential dojo martial arts in the Bearded Karate Dad world. And that's something I have not really addressed yet, is the whole martial arts aspects, but I certainly will here soon. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment below if you want anything extra or additional or amazing addressed. And I'll see you next time. Take care.